When you truly understand your worth, it transforms the way you see yourself, your relationships, and the world around you. This understanding doesn't come from external validation or the approval of others, but from an inner awareness of who you are at your core. Unfortunately, many women fall into the trap of seeking their value through the eyes of others, especially in romantic relationships. This is where the danger begins. When you rely on someone else to define your worth, you give away the power to see yourself as you truly are, strong, capable, and deserving of respect. Your worth is not tied to how much effort you put into a relationship or how much you sacrifice for someone who doesn't reciprocate. It's not about how many compliments you receive or whether someone chooses to stay with you. Your worth is intrinsic. It exists regardless of external circumstances. However, it's easy to forget this in a society that often equates a woman's value with her ability to give, nurture, and please others. While these are admirable qualities, they should not be exploited by someone who fails to appreciate their significance. The challenge is that many women grow up conditioned to believe that their value is linked to their relationships. They may internalize messages that suggest their happiness depends on being chosen or loved by a man. This mindset creates vulnerability, making it easier for someone to take advantage of their kindness, generosity, and desire for connection. When you don't fully grasp your worth, you may settle for less than you deserve, accepting behavior that diminishes your sense of self. This is often the first step down the road to being used. The problem with not understanding your worth is that it creates a void that others can easily exploit. A man who sees that you're unsure of your value may play into this insecurity, offering just enough attention or affection to keep you emotionally invested while taking far more than he gives. He may flatter you with words that feel like validation, but never follow through with actions that demonstrate true respect or commitment. This creates a cycle of dependency where you begin to measure your value based on his inconsistent approval, which only serves to erode your self-esteem. Understanding your worth requires a shift in focus. It starts with asking yourself hard questions about what you truly believe about yourself. Do you see yourself as worthy of love, respect, and genuine care? Or have you allowed the opinions and actions of others to shape how you feel about yourself? This self-reflection can be uncomfortable, especially if you've been in relationships where your value wasn't honored. But it's a necessary step toward reclaiming your power. When you understand your worth, you stop tolerating behavior that undermines your self-respect. You no longer accept excuses for someone who fails to prioritize you or make you feel valued. Instead, you demand actions that align with your expectations because you know you deserve nothing less. This doesn't mean you become harsh or unapproachable. It means you become discerning. You learn to recognize red flags early and trust your instincts when something doesn't feel right. This awareness protects you from being used because you're no longer seeking validation from someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart. It's also important to recognize that understanding your worth isn't about arrogance or pride. It's about embracing a healthy sense of self-respect and self-love. When you truly value yourself, you don't need to chase after anyone's approval because you already know you're enough. This inner confidence is magnetic and it naturally attracts people who respect and cherish you for who you are. More importantly, it repels those who seek to exploit your kindness or take advantage of your insecurities. Understanding your worth also changes the way you handle rejection or disappointment. Instead of seeing these experiences as personal failures, you view them as opportunities to align yourself with people and situations that are better suited to your values and goals. You stop internalizing the actions of others as reflections of your value because you know their behavior says more about them than it does about you. This mindset shift frees you from the emotional roller coaster of trying to prove your worth to someone who isn't capable of appreciating it. Another key aspect of understanding your worth is learning to set standards and stick to them. These standards are not about being demanding or unreasonable. They're about protecting your emotional well-being and ensuring that your relationships are built on mutual respect and reciprocity. When you set standards, you communicate your expectations clearly and unapologetically. You show that you value yourself enough to require the same level of respect and effort from others. The Democrats, no easy negotiation. This not only weeds out those who are looking to use you, but also empowers you to build healthier, more fulfilling connections. Understanding your worth also requires unlearning patterns that have kept you in situations where your value was overlooked or taken for granted. This process takes time and self-compassion, as it often involves addressing deeply ingrained beliefs about your role in relationships. Perhaps you've been told that love requires sacrifice, leading you to overextend yourself in ways that leave you depleted. Or maybe you've experienced relationships where your needs were dismissed, teaching you to prioritize others' happiness over your own. Recognizing these patterns and actively working to change them is a vital part of reclaiming your self-worth. As you grow in your understanding of your worth, you begin to see the difference between being loved and being used. Love is consistent, supportive, and uplifting. It enhances your sense of self rather than diminishing it. Being used, on the other hand, often feels one-sided and draining. It leaves you questioning your value and wondering what more you need to do to earn someone's care or attention. So the truth is, love doesn't need to be earned. It should be freely given and reciprocated. When you embrace this truth, you free yourself from the burden of trying to prove your worth to someone who isn't willing to value it. The journey to understanding your worth is deeply personal, but it's also incredibly liberating. It allows you to step out of the shadow of doubt and insecurity and into the light of self-assurance. When you know your worth, you no longer feel the need to settle for crumbs of affection or tolerate behavior that doesn't honor your dignity. You become your own source of validation, which is the most powerful position to be in, because it ensures that your sense of self is never at the mercy of someone else's actions or intentions. By recognizing and embracing your worth, you transform not only your relationships, but also the way you show up in every aspect of your life. This transformation starts within, with the decision to see yourself as deserving of respect, love, and happiness simply because of who you are, not because of what you do for others or what they think of you. Actions always reveal a person's true intentions, regardless of the words they speak or the promises they make. Many women find themselves caught up in the allure of sweet words, grand declarations, and fleeting moments of affection, believing these to be signs of genuine love or commitment. However, words alone are often hollow, if not backed by consistent and meaningful actions. People who truly care about you will demonstrate their feelings through what they do, not just what they say. It is in the day-to-day behavior, the small gestures, and the consistent effort where true intentions are revealed. Promises, when made without the intention of fulfillment, are nothing more than tools of manipulation. A man might promise to change, to prioritize you, or to make you feel valued, yet his actions repeatedly show otherwise. He may say all the right things when confronted, or when he feels his grip on you slipping, but these words often serve as temporary fixes rather than sincere commitments to improve. Pay attention to patterns. What does he do when no one is watching, and when he doesn't feel the need to perform? Actions that align with love and respect don't require an audience or reason to be displayed. They flow naturally from someone who truly values you. One of the most telling ways to gauge someone's intentions is to observe how they treat you during times of conflict or challenge. When everything is smooth and easy, it's simple for someone to put on a facade of care and affection. But it's during disagreements, misunderstandings, or moments when you need support that their true character shines through. A man who is genuinely invested in you will approach these moments with patience, understanding, and a willingness to work through issues together. On the other hand, someone using you will likely resort to deflection, gaslighting, or outright neglect, revealing that their interest in you is conditional and self-serving. Consistency is a cornerstone of genuine intention. A man who truly values you will show up for you consistently, not just when it's convenient for him. He won't shower you with attention one day and vanish the next, leaving you questioning his feelings or intentions. This inconsistency is often a red flag, a sign that he is more interested in keeping you on the hook than building something meaningful with you. When someone's actions fluctuate based on what they stand to gain, it's a clear indication that their motives are less about you and more about their own needs or desires. Another critical aspect to consider is how much effort someone is willing to put into your relationship. Effort isn't always about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about the time, energy, and thoughtfulness they invest in making you feel seen, heard, and valued. A man who is using you will often do the bare minimum to keep you around, offering just enough to maintain the illusion of care without genuinely committing to you. This can look like sporadic messages, canceled plans, or excuses about why he can't be there for you when you need him. His actions don't align with the image of a caring, supportive partner, but he hopes his words will be enough to keep you from noticing the disconnect. Pay attention to the ways he prioritizes you in his life. Does he make time for you even when he's busy? Does he include you in his future plans or treat you as an afterthought? A man who is genuinely interested in you will make it clear through his actions that you are a priority, not just an option. Someone using you, however, will often keep you at arm's length, involving you only when it suits his needs or when he feels the risk of losing you. This lack of prioritization is another strong indicator that his intentions may not be as sincere as his words suggest. Another revealing aspect of someone's actions is how they treat you in public versus in private. A man who values you will be consistent in how he treats you regardless of the setting. He won't put on a show of affection in front of others only to ignore or belittle you behind closed doors. When someone's actions shift dramatically depending on who's watching, it's often a sign that they are more concerned with appearances than with building a genuine connection with you. It's also important to examine how much effort he puts into understanding and meeting your needs. Does he take the time to learn what makes you happy, what you value, and what you need to feel secure in the relationship? Or does he dismiss your concerns and focus solely on what benefits him? A man who is genuinely invested in you will make an effort to meet your needs. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. Conversely, someone who is using you will often disregard your feelings, expecting you to adapt to his needs without offering the same in return. Observing someone's actions over time provides clarity that words cannot. People can say anything to keep you emotionally tied to them, but their actions will always tell the truth. It's easy to get swept up in the emotional high of hearing what you want to hear, but lasting trust and connection are built on actions, not promises. When someone consistently shows through their behavior that they value and respect you, you can trust that their intentions are genuine. However, when their actions contradict their words, it's crucial to take note and act accordingly. Ignoring red flags in a relationship is a common yet damaging mistake that many people make, often out of a desire to see the best in someone or to avoid the discomfort of confronting the truth. Red flags, those subtle or glaring signs of inconsistency, manipulation, or disrespect, are there for a reason. They are your intuition's way of signaling that something isn't right. When you choose to dismiss these signs, you risk allowing a pattern of behavior that will ultimately harm your self-worth and emotional well-being. It's crucial to recognize these warning signs for what they are: indicators that someone's actions, intentions, or character may not align with the kind of respect and care you deserve. One of the reasons people overlook red flags is because they want to believe in the potential of a relationship rather than confronting its reality. You might tell yourself that no one is perfect, that everyone has flaws, or that the situation will improve with time. While it's true that no relationship is without challenges, there is a significant difference between working through normal issues and tolerating toxic behavior. The process of recovery is not easy. The other day, when you dismiss red flags, you often end up making excuses for actions that should never be justified, such as neglect, dishonesty, or manipulation. The hope for improvement can become a trap, keeping you invested in a relationship that is draining rather than uplifting. Sometimes the fear of being alone can cloud your judgment, making it easier to rationalize red flags rather than address them. You might think, at least I have someone, or convince yourself that being in a flawed relationship is better than facing the unknown of being single. This mindset not only diminishes your self-worth, but also blinds you to the reality that being alone is far healthier than being in a relationship where you are undervalued. When you prioritize companionship over self-respect, you send a message to yourself and others that your needs and boundaries are negotiable, which can lead to a cycle of repeated patterns in future relationships. Another reason people ignore red flags is due to the emotional investment they have already made. If you've spent months or even years with someone, it can be painful to acknowledge that the relationship isn't what you thought it was. The time, energy, and love you've given can feel like a sunk cost, leading you to stay in the relationship despite its flaws. You may think, I've already put so much into this. I can't give up now. However, continuing to invest in a relationship that shows clear signs of being unhealthy only deepens the emotional toll. It's important to remember that walking away isn't a loss. It's a gain for your well-being and a chance to create space for something better. Red flags often manifest in subtle ways at first, making them easy to overlook. Perhaps it starts with small lies, dismissive comments, or a lack of effort in the relationship. Over time, these minor issues can escalate into more significant problems, such as controlling behavior, emotional manipulation, or outright disrespect. The longer you tolerate these behaviors, the more normalized they become, making it harder to draw the line later on. By addressing red flags early, you set a standard for how you expect to be treated and prevent unhealthy patterns from taking root. It's also essential to recognize that red flags are not always overtly negative actions. Sometimes they come in the form of what's missing, like a lack of consistency, emotional availability, or genuine effort. A partner who avoids accountability, dismisses your concerns, or fails to prioritize you is signaling through their inaction that they may not be as committed to the relationship as they claim. These passive red flags can be just as damaging as more obvious ones, as they create a dynamic where your needs and feelings are consistently overlooked. Ignoring red flags not only impacts your current relationship, but can also have long-term effects on your self-esteem and ability to trust. When you repeatedly tolerate behavior, a man who is using you will often make every effort to keep you emotionally invested in the relationship without offering the same level of commitment in return. This imbalance creates a dynamic where you are constantly giving, compromising, and sacrificing while he takes without reciprocating. This strategy is not always overt. It can be subtle and manipulative, designed to ensure you remain attached while he maintains control of the situation. It's important to understand how this dynamic operates and why it is so damaging to your emotional well-being and sense of self-worth. One of the most common tactics used by someone who is taking advantage of you emotionally is inconsistency. He may shower you with affection and attention one moment, only to pull back and become distant the next. This push and pull behavior keeps you in a state of emotional confusion, always questioning where you stand and what you did to cause the shift. When he pulls away, you might feel the need to work harder to win back his attention or affection, which plays directly into his hands. This inconsistency is not accidental. It's a calculated way to ensure that you remain emotionally invested, always striving to recapture the moments of connection he occasionally provides. Another key indicator of being emotionally manipulated is when a man makes promises or commitments that he has no intention of keeping. He may speak about a future together, make declarations of love, or assure you that he values you deeply, but his actions consistently fail to align with these words. These empty promises serve to keep you hopeful and invested in a future that he has no real plans to build. By dangling the idea of commitment or change just out of reach, he ensures that you stay emotionally tethered, holding on to the belief that things will improve. Control is often a central aspect of a relationship where one person is being used. A man who is using you may seek to control various aspects of your life, either overtly or subtly. He might isolate you from friends or family, criticize your choices, or create a dynamic where you feel dependent on his approval or validation. This control is not about care or concern. It's about ensuring that you remain focused on him and his needs. By limiting your independence or making you question your own judgment, he reinforces the power imbalance in the relationship, making it harder for you to see the situation clearly or take steps to protect yourself. Emotional manipulation often involves exploiting your vulnerabilities or insecurities. A man who is using you will identify the areas where you feel uncertain or self-conscious and use them to his advantage. He might praise you in ways that align with your insecurities, making you feel valued in the short term, only to later use those same insecurities to undermine your confidence. For example, if you've expressed fears about being alone, he might reassure you of his commitment during moments of doubt, only to later withdraw that reassurance as a way of keeping you dependent on him. This cycle of building you up and breaking you down is a hallmark of emotional manipulation, designed to keep you questioning yourself and relying on him for stability. Another red flag in a relationship where you are being used is the absence of genuine reciprocity. Healthy relationships are built on mutual support, effort, and care. But when someone is using you, the dynamic is one-sided. You might find yourself constantly giving, whether it's your time, energy, resources, or emotional support, while receiving little to nothing in return. He may expect you to accommodate his needs, adjust your schedule to fit his, or provide unwavering emotional support, but when you need the same from him, he's unavailable or dismissive. This lack of reciprocity is a clear sign that the relationship is not built on mutual respect or care. Over time, being in a relationship where you are used emotionally can take a significant toll on your mental and emotional health. You may begin to doubt your own worth, question your ability to make decisions, or feel trapped in a cycle of emotional exhaustion. The constant effort to please someone who is not invested in you can leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and disconnected from your sense of self. This erosion of self-esteem makes it even harder to recognize the unhealthy dynamics at play and take steps to protect yourself. It's also worth noting that someone who is using you emotionally will often resist accountability for their actions. If you confront him about his behavior or express your concerns, he might deflect blame, deny wrongdoing, or turn the conversation back on you. This lack of accountability further reinforces the power imbalance in the relationship, making it difficult for you to address the issues or set boundaries. By refusing to take responsibility for his actions, he ensures that the focus remains on your perceived shortcomings rather than his own. In many cases, a man who is using you emotionally will also avoid making concrete commitments or defining the relationship. He might keep things ambiguous, avoiding labels or long-term plans so that he can maintain his freedom while still benefiting from your emotional investment. This lack of clarity leaves you in a constant state of uncertainty, unsure of where you stand or what the future holds. By keeping the relationship undefined, he ensures that he retains control over the dynamic while avoiding the responsibilities and expectations that come with genuine commitment. This type of emotional manipulation can be incredibly damaging because it often operates under the guise of affection or care. You might find yourself holding on to the moments when he does show kindness or attention, using them to justify staying in the relationship despite the overwhelming evidence of his true intentions. These fleeting moments of connection can create a powerful emotional attachment, making it difficult to see the relationship for what it truly is. Recognizing these patterns is essential for breaking free from the cycle of emotional manipulation and reclaiming your sense of self-worth. The most important lesson in navigating relationships is recognizing your worth and understanding that you should never have to prove your value to anyone. A relationship built on mutual respect, love, and care does not require you to constantly justify your place in someone's life or compete for their attention and validation. Yet, in many cases, individuals find themselves in situations where they feel the need to overcompensate, working tirelessly to earn someone's affection, approval, or commitment. This dynamic is not only exhausting, but also fundamentally misaligned with what a healthy, fulfilling partnership should be. When you feel compelled to prove your worth to someone, it often stems from a place of insecurity or fear of rejection. You might think that by being more accommodating, supportive, or available, you can convince them to see your value and reciprocate your efforts. This mindset, however, creates a dangerous imbalance where you prioritize their needs and desires over your own, often at the expense of your self-respect and emotional well-being. Instead of being an equal partner in the relationship, you inadvertently place yourself in a subordinate position, seeking validation that should come naturally in a healthy connection. A key issue with trying to prove your worth is that it places the power of your self-esteem in someone else's hands. You may find yourself constantly analyzing their reactions, seeking signs of approval, or adjusting your behavior to meet their expectations. This dynamic is not only unsustainable, but also unhealthy, as it leads to a cycle of dependency, where your sense of self becomes tied to their perception of you. In reality, no one has the right to define your value or dictate your worth. The moment you begin seeking external validation to prove your place in someone's life, you relinquish your power and lose sight of your intrinsic value. In relationships where you feel the need to prove your worth, there's often an underlying imbalance of effort. You might be the one initiating conversations, planning activities, or making sacrifices to keep the connection alive, while the other person contributes little in return. This disparity creates a dynamic where your efforts are taken for granted and your value is overlooked. Instead of being appreciated for who you are, you become valued for what you can provide or how much you're willing to give. This kind of relationship not only diminishes your self-esteem, but also reinforces the false belief that your worth is conditional upon your actions. It's also important to recognize that someone who truly values you will not require you to prove your worth. They will see your unique qualities, appreciate your presence, and make an effort to contribute equally to the relationship. In a healthy partnership, love and respect are freely given, not earned through constant effort or sacrifice. If you find yourself in a situation where you are constantly trying to prove your value, it's worth questioning whether the other person genuinely appreciates you or is simply taking advantage of your efforts. Another issue with trying to prove your worth is that it often leads to a loss of authenticity. In an attempt to meet someone else's expectations or gain their approval, you may suppress your true self, conforming to their preferences or ideals. This can manifest in various ways, such as hiding your opinions, avoiding conflict, or pretending to be someone you're not. Over time, this inauthenticity can erode your sense of identity, leaving you feeling disconnected from who you truly are. A healthy relationship, on the other hand, encourages authenticity and allows you to be your true self without fear of judgment or rejection. Moreover, the need to prove your worth often stems from a deeper issue of self-doubt or unresolved insecurities. If you don't believe in your own value, you're more likely to seek validation from others, relying on their approval to feel worthy. This mindset can make you vulnerable to manipulation or exploitation, as individuals who recognize your insecurities may use them to their advantage. Addressing these underlying issues and building a strong sense of self-worth is crucial for breaking free from this cycle and creating healthier relationships in the future. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you reclaim your power and set a standard for how you expect to be treated. This shift begins with recognizing your inherent value and understanding that you deserve love, respect, and appreciation simply for who you are. By setting boundaries and refusing to settle for less, you create space for relationships that align with your worth and values. This doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. Rather, it means having the confidence to walk away from situations that do not serve your best interests. It's also essential to understand that proving your worth to someone is not a reflection of your value, but rather of their inability to see it. If someone fails to recognize your worth, it is not your responsibility to convince them otherwise. Your value does not diminish because someone else is unable or unwilling to appreciate it. Instead of wasting your energy on trying to prove yourself, focus on nurturing your self-esteem and building relationships with people who see and appreciate you for who you are. When you prioritize self-worth, you attract people who align with your values and treat you with the respect you deserve. This requires a shift in mindset, from seeking validation externally to finding it within yourself. It means acknowledging your strengths, embracing your imperfections, and believing in your worth regardless of others' opinions. By doing so, you create a foundation of self-respect that empowers you to make healthier choices and build more fulfilling relationships.